Yeah, welcome everyone. Wasn't on yesterday. Had some errands to do. So hope everybody's having a good day today. This is this is Friday. I actually thought today was Thursday for some reason. No, today is Friday. Um, yeah, happy Friday to everyone. We have looking into some stuff into the news today. News of comic books. What we can talk about Max. I'm working on another page of Max Burger. I just have to figure out my perspective on it, and I can start sketching away. Just got the blank page here. I did start some, and I wasn't happy with it, so I erased it all. Trying to make it some more dramatic when you open up the page. It'll look exciting to make you turn to the next page. So that first attempt didn't work out the way I wanted. Yeah, so I'm looking at some stuff here and bounding into comics. Let's see if I can find something here. Looks like there's a reboot coming up for Highlander. So that's interesting. I know it's not a comic book, but it's a film. I don't know. I think it's been rebooted a couple times for the movie, not for the movie, for television. It was rebooted from the movies to television. But I think it's kind of was in the same vein. Let's see here. This is John Wick, director of Chad Stahelski. He gives update on Highlander reboot. There can only be one, and in the hearts of fan acting like the sequels never happened. There is only one original Highlander. That hasn't stopped Hollywood from pushing a reboot, as they had for over a decade. The director attached John Wick's Chad Stahelski to discussing film that he hopes to make it, and he's working on it. Stahelski says the film is heavily development, even now during the shutdown. Highlander has been in some form of development since at least 2016. Under Stahelski, he says that we're heavily developing in development mode on Highlander, tweaking the script, writing conceptual sequences. How are we going to do everything? We probably have a lot more in-person kind of things that hasn't slowed down our development process at all. In 2018, he explained to Entertainment Weekly how gung-ho he was going to make it. I still very much want to go and do Highlander, he said. He also remarked around the time Collider, the rating doesn't really matter as long as he does with swords what he did with guns with Wick. Ratings are second to what we're going to do here. Going to do Highlander. I think the action is at least what's in my head. It's going to fall on a line for sure. We want to design it what we think is cool, and so far I've met no resistance. They've look, whatever you did with John Wick with the gun stuff, we want you to try to do with the sword stuff. We want you to make something cool and something unique, something that's going to make audience say, wow, I haven't seen that before. One reason Stahelski stood by the project for so long is he's a huge fan of High School. Here's what he said to THR when he landed the job. I've been a big fan of the original property since I saw it in high school. Such great themes of immortality, love, and identity are all wrapped up in such colorful mythology. I can't think of a better property that gives the opportunity to create an interesting characters, myth, themes, and action set pieces. Neil H. Moritz and Peter Davis will produce a reboot with Lionsgate in the original film, according to IMDb. Screenplay duties are being handled by Ryan J. Kendall, Rampage, and Kerry Williamson, Alex Cross. Directed by Russell McCallie, hot off his underrated and under-celebrated debut, The Jaws on Land, Monster Pig Hunt Opus, Razorback. 1986 Highlander tells the story of Connor MacLeod, Christopher Lambert, one of a dying race of immortals that include his mentor, Remez Sean Connery. MacLeod must face his old enemy, the Kurgan Clancy Brown, to become the last. Winning comes with the prize of knowledge and power. Lots of windows to blow out too. Several sequels, TV spin-offs, and some comic books followed. Sean Connery returned for Part 2, The Quickening, where it turned out Rambaz and MacLeod were aliens. A later installment was entitled Endgame, years before Avengers or Marvel dominated the landscape, and starred wrestler actor Adam Edge Copeland. The Highlander remake was once stated tentatively for 2019. That year came and went with precious little swordplay between internal warriors to show for it. Chad Stahelski has his way. A trilogy may spawn from this to make up for the waiting. So what do you think? It's a good, might be worth seeing. Do you think he can do it the same way as he did Wick? That'll be interesting. Wick was pretty good. Wick, I got to see Wick 1. I haven't seen the second one yet. I like the Highlander series. I thought it was kind of neat. Let's see here. So this is from yesterday. Fans translate Darkseid mural from Zack Snyder's Justice League teaser provides details on Ares and the war against Earth. The Snyder Cut Justice League isn't out until next year, but we can spoil the big scene where Darkseid debuts and makes his first advance on Earth. Well, it took a little translating. We got the spoilers. Twitter user Unity514 sent out a post translating Geek in a Cave from Snyder Cut teaser to English. The cave shrine of the Amazons was explored by Wonder Woman, and it's where she found the slab telling the story of Darkseid attack on the planet. Screaming exclusive. Unity hopes to break the internet with a translation of the second wall in the Shrine Temple. It says exclusive. Let's break the internet again. I've translated the second wall in the Shrine Temple. Look at the 4 pics above for full details. My profile also has more translations. The Unity points out that the circle on top of the painting shows a parademon in flight coming through the ether. The middle strip continues the description of parademons and adds the roaring roaring clash of iron and blood with the pushing back of invaders. In short, it illustrates war. The bottom part between Apocalypse and droids, these desalates, has the juice that Unity says it reads that Zeus commands Ares to fight or terribly punish and kill Darkseid, who survives. Burnt toast, but defeated. He flees to the stars in a hurry. Afterwards, the Mother Box are left with the tribes of Earth that include the Amazons, hidden for protection as well as because Darkseid will return one day. Darkseid battles with Ares. Explosion from Earth was filmed and likely makes the cut. Ares was played by actor and stuntman Nick McInnes, who trained for 4 months to get in godly shape. McInnes wasn't credited, and David Thewlis was billed as Ares again in Justice League, despite not being in it. There's one very brief sequence of Ares clashing with Steppenwolf during the history lesson. Flashback, blink, and you'll miss it. See what I'm talking about at the 1.14 mark of the following video. Greek gods leap down and strike Steppenwolf with an axe. You'll never guess it was Ares. Here's hoping the fight between Ares and Darkseid and Zack Snyder's Justice League is better, longer, and easier spot. The Snyder Cut has HBO Max in early 2021. An exact date could be announced by DC Fandom, which begins August 22nd alongside a full trailer. Hey, Sean, how you doing? Yeah, you liked Highlander 1? The TV show, I think I was shot in Toronto. I think the Highlander TV show. I believe so. Yeah, the sequel's kind of I think the alien part, when they did it for the second one, was kind of it's sort of, you know. I did like the actors in it. Lambert did a really good job. I don't know if I have that on DVD. I'll have to check my collection. I haven't been watching that. Well, I watched Ghostbusters the other day. Last night. Well, I was trying to brainstorm some stuff. I put I had a VHS copy of Ghostbusters and threw it in last night. And and then I watched Making of. Was it last night? No, I don't think it was Ghostbusters last night. It was the night before, I think, I put Ghostbusters in. But I watched the Making of Star Wars on VHS. I was quite surprised at the video quality. It was from Star Wars to Jedi, the making of a saga on VHS. And I was quite surprised that the quality was really, really good on this tape. It's been sitting in my in a box for quite a few years, so I thought I'd just throw it in. Yeah, the Darkseid stuff for Justice League. That'll be interesting to see too. I think I'm more excited to see that now Highlander now as I think of more about John Wick. Because if they can make Highlander like John Wick, that will be interesting. Let's see here. Here's one here: a Vox Day Archaven Comics release, Vampire: The Thrilling Midnight's War. Vox Day, Archaven's Comics recently released a brand new vampire thriller series titled Midnight's War. The series was released on the popular Webtoons platform and will consist of 4 episodes. The first episode, titled Not Even the Wicked Dead, was released June 24th, and Vox informs Bounding into the Comics that the second episode will be released on June 26th. The series, set in the distant future, follows an economic crisis that sees vampires tribes come out of hiding and attempt to take control of the Earth and humanity. The Earth's institutions, including their media and governments, and establish a new world order under the Great Concord of Gomorrah. This new world order demands humans provide a certain amount of blood to the vampire authorities every year. However, while most humanities might have fallen to the vampires and their new world, there are some humans who actively resist the vampires, and in fact some human blood was not palatable to the vampires. Here's the official description for Midnight's War. In the year 8466, the Cainite calendar, in the aftermath of claustrophobic economical crisis, the vampires tribe came out of the shadows for the first time in more than 2,600 years and revealed themselves to man with a near complete control of the media, the national governments, and the major international institutions. Humanity was unable to resist the vampiric bid for power. A new world order was established in the Great Concord of Gomorrah, but not all men bowed to the Great Concord. The series is written by Vox Day and is rated adult for depiction of violence. You can check out the first episode on Webtoons. Midnight War joins other Archaven's comics on Webtoons, including Right Hole Jeeves by Chuck Dixon and Gary Kowalski, and Quantum Mortis by Vox Day and Steve Reza. Hyper Gamma Mouse, illustrated by Lacey Fairchild and Chuck Dixon Avalon, and Alt Hero by Vox Day, Cliff Cosmic, and Richard Bunk. Chicago Typewriter by Bren Fidoyle and I can't pronounce this person's first name. Morset Pan, published by Dark Legions Comics, was also available on Webtoons. Oh, you remember that there was 2 Ghostbusters? Yeah, there was a Ghostbuster cartoon. I picked up what was it? At the beginning of the year, I was doing a delivery job for a friend of mine who went on vacation, and I stopped into the local Walmart where I was delivering around. I had about an hour break, and they had them there for I think they were $5. And they had 4 episodes or something per CD. So I bought 2, Volume 1 and Volume 2. I probably should have just bought a whole bunch of them and put that in my collection. But yeah, the cartoon was a little bit more scarier than the movie. Now that movie, that Ghostbuster movie wasn't made. They aimed it for kids, but it wasn't really a kids movie. Neither the cartoon nor the movie. Well, the Ghostbuster cartoon had to have the real Ghostbusters on it because there was another Ghostbusters that was out there, and I'm not sure the whole detail on that. Um, it was a live action TV show with a gorilla in it. Yeah, Film Nation, Ghostbusters. When Columbia Pictures started production of the film Ghostbusters in 1984, it worked out it neglected the fact that Filmation already already produced a live action comedy series with that same name in 1975. Columbia proceeded to name their cartoon show The Real Ghostbusters to directly distinguish it from the Filmation show. It was the real Ghostbusters, the Ghostbusters that was on TV in '75. It was kind of goofy anyway. It says here, Jake Kong Jr. and Eddie Spicer Jr. are the sons of the original Ghostbusters from the live-action comedy series of the same name. Tracy the Gorilla had worked with their fathers. Their headquarters-themed Ghost Command is located in a haunted mansion nestled between a number of tall skyscrapers, which resembles the World Trade Center's Twin Towers in New York City. They are supported by a number of secondary characters, including Anasbo, a talking skull phone, Skelevision, a talking skeleton television, Belfry, a pink talking bat, Ghost Buggy Jr., their talking car. They occasionally enlist the aid of Futura, a time-traveling Ghostbuster from the future, and Jessica Ray, a local television news reporter. Together, they've dedicated themselves to ridding the world of evil ghost wizard Primeval and his cast of henchmen. Primeval's headquarters theme the headquarters, which resembles the British House of Parliament, complete with a Big Ben clock tower, and is located in the fifth dimension. In a typical episode, Primeval uses his magical powers to open up a wormhole to enable one or more of his henchmen to complete a particular scheme that serves to help him to take over the world. Famous guest star ghosts and monsters that appeared on the show included Count Dracula, who is actually a vampire, the Headless Horseman, who also appears in an episode of The Real Ghostbusters, written by Gene Mark, I can't pronounce the last name, and his wife Randy. Like most of the 1980s Filmation cartoons, each episode closed with a segment describing a particular lesson that can be learned from the event of the episode. Skelevision, sometimes accomplished by Belfry, is the character most often employed in this role. From time to take, Jake Jr., Eddie Jr., or any other protagonist will talk with Skelevision about the lesson. Kind of sounds like what they did for Captain Marvel, too. Or Shazam. Because at the end of Shazam, the TV show back in the 70s, they used to have Billy Batson or Michael Gray talk to the audience and give a little bit of lesson of what happened in that episode. I don't even know if Filmation is still around. They did a lot of cartoon stuff back in the 70s. and into the 80s a bit, I think. It ended in 1989. So Filmation Associates was an American-produced company that produced animation and live-action program for television from 1963 to 1989. The animation studio was founded in '62. Filmation's founders and principal producers were Lou Schumer and Hal Sutherland and Norm Prescott. Lou Schumer and Filmation's main director Hal Sutherland met in 1957 while working at Larry's Harmon Pictures on the made-for-television Bozo and Popeye cartoons. Eventually, Larry Hammond closed the studio by 1961. Schumer and Sutherland went up to produce work at a small company called True Line. One of those owners was Marcus Lipsky, and who owned Ready Up Whipped Cream and SIB Productions, a Japanese film with U.S. offices in Chicago. Approached them about producing a cartoon called Rod Rocket. The two agreed to take on the work and also took a project for family films owned by Lutheran Church for 10 short animated films based on the life of Christ. Paramount Pictures soon purchased the SIB Productions, and True Line staff increased, including the arrival of former radio disc jockey Norm Prescott, who became partners in the firm. He had already been working on the animated feature Pinocchio in Outer Space, which was primarily produced by Bellavision Studios. So I wonder if any of the Lutheran Church was part of the influence for them putting those little messages at the end of the episodes. I'm not sure, because it seemed like when I watched Shazam, the live action, there was always lessons to be learned in Shazam. I don't recall seeing any. Seemed to be a lot of kids getting into trouble on the show. I'll have to rewatch it again. I have copies somewhere. I did buy. I believe I bought a bootleg on VHS. I'll have to see if I can find it. If I still have it. But I hear that Boswick, the actor who played Captain Marvel, he had copies. And he stated something about he was giving away video copies. I don't know how good the copies are. They did release it on DVD for Warner Brothers. I looked at getting them, but the price is really expensive. It's only I think it only went on for one season, as I understood. They had a different actor come in place for Boswick because he hurt himself or something, and so he had to replace him with another actor. Yeah, Shazam is a half-hour live-action television program that was produced for Filmation, the studio's first such program, based on the superhero Captain Marvel known as Shazam. Fawcett Comics comic book series, Wiz Comics, and now owned by DC Comics. The program starred Michael Gray as Billy Batson, a teenage boy who can transform into the superhero Captain Marvel. Originally played by Jackson Boswick and later by John Davy, by speaking the magic word Shazam with his guardian mentor, Les Tremaine. Billy travels the country in a 1973 Dodge open-road motorhome, looking for injustice to resolve. The show ran from 74 to 76 on CBS Saturday morning lineup. From 75 to 76, it was known as the Shazam. I'm not sure if I can say that word. I've heard people saying that other character, if you mention it, the bots will delete the video, so they're not a. This is not one of those. What you call them? They're terrorist group. It's not a terrorist group, but anyway, I can say IS. And it's about an ancient superhero heroine resurrected in the body of a schoolteacher as the second half of the hour. Mentor character was played by Les Tremaine, a unique to the TV series, and did not originate from the Shazam comics. His background and origin of his relation to Billy was never explained. In later issues of the 1970s Shazam comic, meant to tie in with the TV show, Billy's Uncle Dudley grows a mustache, and he drives Billy around the country in an RV, and tells Billy that the wizard Shazam chooses him to be Billy's mentor, essentially turning Dudley into the comic book version of Mentor. The Mentor character has not been used since, though Uncle Dudley has been shown driving a similar RV in the 2010 animated series Justice League Action. Neither Mary or Freddy appeared in the series, though the three main members of the Marvel family did not appear together in news stories in the tie-in era comics. After Shazam was paired with the Secrets of Show I Can't Say in 1975, Joanna Cameron, the star of Show I Can't Say Again, appeared as Her Again I Can't Say, her alter ego Andrea Thomas, in the 3 episodes of Shazam. And John Davy likewise appeared in Captain Marvel in the 3 episodes of the Show I Can't Say. Shazam is one of the first Filmation productions to carry the trademark spinning exclusive producer's credit wheel, Norman Prescott, Lou Scheimer, during the opening credits rather than the closing edits. After its original network run, Shazam was brought back for reruns from January the 5th to August the 30th, 1980. A handful of episodes appeared on Nickelodeon, sister network TV Land, and frequently throughout the 2000s. Originally appeared on the Ultimate Fan Hour in early 2004 as part of the TV and Kitchen late night programming block. Since early March 2019, the series has been available for streaming on the DC streaming service. So, Sean, did you ever watch that show? It was I thought it was a pretty good series. Well, to the budget they had. At the kid, when you were a kid, when I watched this show back in the 70s, I was only probably about 13, maybe 14. But when you're that age, you see anything that comes on about a superhero, it's just it just drove me bonkers because I thought it was great, you know. I was like, what was it? Watching, when I was a kid, I loved Batman 1966. I like the George Reeves Superman. I didn't think he was as powerful as he was in the comic books. You heard of it, but never saw it. Well, they have like he when he's traveling around in the RV, he's got a little panel like on the dash, a little red bow thing with a bunch of lights on it, and this is the way he talks to the elders. And the elders are they never refer them as gods, but they're just called elders, like Zeus, Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, and them, and he talks him through this device, and he gets transported, and all the gods are animated. There isn't an actor in there, and he's kind of cut in there with the animation of the cave and stuff like that, and they give him little clues of what's going to happen, that something's going to happen to him, and he's going to meet somebody. They leave it as vague as possible, so when he meets this problem, he, as Captain Marvel, he'll kind of realize this is what the elders meant. But it was always given a lesson. And then they talked about it at the end. But the two actors that I did like, Boswick, Jackson Boswick was really, really good. I really thought he looked like Captain Marvel. John Davy, I found him like Jackson Boswick was a bit thinner, where John Davy was a little bit more bulkier looking than him. But it doesn't say here what happened to him. I really didn't think they said it says here this is in season 3, but a lot of them I heard that was just they were repeating a lot of the previous episodes from season 1 or season 2 with a new actor in it. You know, it says here the pilot episode, The Joyriders, was released as Warner Brothers Television DVD Volume 8 Shazam, part of a DVD series to promote 50 years of Warner Brothers Television and promote the other TV shows that were not released on DVD. This included the release of the 3rd season of Wonder Woman in 2005 in North America, while the rights to the Secret blank of remain with Filmation's successors, Entertainment Rights, Class Media, and DreamWorks. Now I do have it on DVD. The Secrets of ISIS, and I do have that one. I don't know if you've ever seen that one either, but so they said here that on October 23rd, 2012, Warner releases Shazam, the complete series on DVD via the Warner Archives Burn-on-Demand service. Is that an online service that you pay for? The Warner Archive Burn-on-Demand service? Or is it some that it's not a streaming service that you can download and burn to a CD yourself, right? You used to watch Batman, Spider-Man, Hulk, and multiple Superman shows and Superboy. No, I didn't know one of the actors that were to play Superboy was hired for Lois and Clark was fired because he was Superboy. I know there was 2 different Superboys when they had the show. The Alkynes owned the to the rights to Superman and Superboy for a while. And I think what I heard when they did Superboy, um, I think that either their rights for Superman or some got traded. I think it went. Didn't it go off to? Trying to think of that terrible company that came out and produced the Punisher and stuff like that. Um, it's the same ones I know in the Terminator franchise. Yeah, I didn't know what Superboy actor that came out tried to go on the Lois and Clark show. Was it Gerard Christopher that was on the on that show? So I think he was the first Superboy. I don't know. I thought Superboy was kind of I don't know, kind of. It shouldn't have never been. I think Jerry's. I think the Superman creators, they were a little upset with because they didn't create Superboy. Um, and I kind of like the idea of him just growing up as a regular kid and then being Superman when he became an adult. You know. Yeah, because it wasn't. Yeah, it definitely wasn't the original creators of Superman that came up with Superboy. Did you know that Superman, um, when they came up with the story, Superman was originally evil, um, and they looked like I think one of them looked like Lex Luthor or some. It was the Reign of the Superman, I think it was called, and then they revamped it um, and made it into the story. It was what we know today. Okay, yeah. Huh. Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know that there was a Superboy that when applied for the job of. So they actually filmed him for a while in the episode. As it says here, the Superboy series was brought to the screen by exclusive producers. Can't pronounce his first name. Elia, and Alexandria Selkine, the producers of the first three Superman movies and the 1984 Supergirl movie. The series and the release of the 1988 Superman animated series on CBS it was at the same time as the 50th anniversary celebrations of the Superman character that year. Ironically, the series came out about a year after DC Comics has erased the character of Superboy from the continuity in the Man of Steel reboot by John Byrne. Now, did you ever read that one? I know I'm going off topic here, but John Byrne did a brilliant. I think it was a like a kind of a, not a pre-crisis, but it was a pocket universe where it kept the Superboy universe alive, and Superman ended up crashing there. There was, I forget what. I have to go back to my old Superman books, and somehow he ends up on this pocket universe that seemed to be saved by somebody, and I think Superboy was gone. I think Paul Kent was still alive, and he tried to stop Superman with kryptonite, and it didn't affect the Superman from the new multiverse or crisis, and he had to fight the Kryptonian villains. They ended up killing everybody on Earth. They might even killed Superboy. I'm not sure. And Superman had to kill them all. You know, I think he was more afraid because they were more powerful than he was, and he was afraid that they would get into his universe, and he had to stop them. Now I think he used kryptonite on them. He didn't like in that Superman movie. He didn't end up breaking their necks. He just had them die of kryptonite poisoning. You know, but they were vicious and killed everybody on that Earth. So when it came down for Superman killing, because I don't think John Byrne wanted Superman to kill particularly, but he wanted to show him that, you know, these guys were really bad, and if they'd gotten away from this pocket universe, they could leave a lot of destruction in their path, and he wanted to stop them. But anyway, back to the Superboy. He says, nevertheless, the show went on in October 1988 with John James Newton playing the lead role of Superboy Clark Kent. He was the first Superman, or Superboy, along with Stacey Huddock as love interest Lana Lang and Jim Culvert as Clark's college roommate T.J. White. Superboy was the first weekly TV series to be produced at the new Disney MGM Studios. For the second season onward, the series moved several miles up Interstate 4 to Universal Studios, Florida, the largest motion picture and television sound facility outside of Hollywood, where it was then showcased as that studio's first weekly television product. As much as the action centered around the stories that Clark and TJ reported on the college newspapers at the Schuster Herald, all exterior scenes were shot at Schuster University are actually filmed on the main campus of the University of Central Florida. Stegelville, however, was depicted as a coastal city, as evidenced by imagery of both the new and old Sunshine Skyway bridges, Interstate 275 in St. Petersburg, Florida, in the opening credits. Superboy was scripted by many actual comic book writers. Editors Mike Carlin and Andrew Heffer penned several episodes as The Alien Solution, its sequel, The Revenge of the Alien, and The Bride of Bizarro. Other comic book writers that contributed to the series include Denny O'Neil, Gary Bates, J.M. DeMates, and Mark Evner. Clark Kent Superboy attends the Siegel School of Journalism at Schuster University in Schusterville, Florida. Names which references Superman's creator Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. Yeah, so yeah, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, they came up with they didn't even come up with Superboy. Yeah, let's see here. The second series was actually titled The New Adventures of Superboy, and was launched to provide readers with a monthly. Oh, this is comic book. Sorry, I'm in the wrong one. I lost track here. The first season of the series, which began airing in October 1988, focuses on Superboy, Clark Kent, John Haynes Newton, and his childhood friend and love interest Lana Lang, Stacey Hunnick, and his college roommate T.J. White, Jim Culvert, son of Daily Planet editor Perry White. Scott James Wells played Superboy's nemesis Lex Luthor. Clark's adoptive parents, Jonathan and Martha Kent, were portrayed by Stuart Whiteman and Salomon Jens, respectively. In an interview with The Boy's Life prior to the show's debut, Newton spoke with the importance of overall character development, and his focus would be both on Superboy and Clark Kent. When Clark Kent was not Superboy, he ought to be a well-rounded individual. I think people had gotten tired of seeing the nerdy Clark after 4 movies. 13 episodes were initially filmed for season 1, beginning with Countdown to Nowhere. This episode features Superboy's first public appearance as he prevents a group of saboteurs from selling a powerful laser weapon developed by the U.S. government to a arms dealer. Countdown to Nowhere aired in 2 versions: an uncut version in which the story plays in the present day, and the second version in which the main story is introduced as a flashback, though through 2 additional scenes with Lana and Clark and TJ. The second version contains some scenes cut from the main story in order to fit the flashback leads into the episode. The episode is the first episode in the series chronologically, but the 5th one that was aired in most markets. It also appears in the 5th episode on the first season DVD set. The first season story editor was Fred Feinberg, who was also scripted a few episodes. So they also did a comic book tie-in too. DC Comics published a tie-in comic book series during the TV show run, launching the comic book during the TV series' second season. Superboy Volume 2 is different from any other Superman or Superboy titles in that it is set in the continuity of the Superboy television series, as opposed to the regular DC universe. Its intent was to explore some of the unseen tales and events in the TV series that could not. The series originally carried the cover title Superboy the comic book, with issue 1 having photo cover with the star show Gerard Christopher and Stacey Hunnick, dated February 1990, though the title in the Indica was simply Superboy. After issue 11, the series changed its cover title to The Adventures of Superboy, as the TV series itself had changed the titles starting with season 3. The change was reflected in the comic books Indica beginning with 18. The series was published monthly until bi-monthly for its final 3 issues, remained in publication for 22 issues to the end of 91, cover date February 1992, and concluded 1 issue special in 1992. Now, I never read the book, so I didn't even know that existed. A comic book series based on the on that at all. And they had a lot of comic book characters in there. They had Mister, I can't even pronounce his name. Mixaplix, I think that's how they pronounce it. I think a lot of people have that problem saying his name. Now the Clark and Lois. Did you like that one, Sean? I I think I watched it for about a year or two. I found it a little bit corny at times. Um, wasn't too fussy about the guy who they got as Lex Luthor. Yeah, Smallville was pretty good. Smallville was the first season or two. I think was pretty good. But most of these shows they start um, kind of the writing doesn't get as good or something. Maybe if budget's cut. Um, yeah. Just trying to find this. Now I'm looking at some stuff here online about Joe Sussler. Now he is Joe Sussler is Canadian. Um, he had I think it's a cousin or some that was a he had they had a show up here, Wayne and Schuster, and it was a comedy act, and Sir Joe was related to the Schuster on television. It was on our CBC, and they did a comedy act. But yeah, it says here the young Schuster was worked as a newspaper boy for the Toronto Daily Star. Um, became the Toronto Star eventually. Um, but that's where you get the in the first I think the first issues or something. I think the book was called The Star, and that's where they got the name. And a lot of Metropolis was based on Toronto. He said he would go from store to store in Toronto and pick up whatever they threw out. One day I was lucky enough to find a bunch of wallpaper rolls that were unused and left over for some jobs. The backs were blank naturally, so it was a gold mine for me, and I went home with every roll I could carry and kept that wallpaper for a long time. And I guess that's where you used the paper to draw and stuff. He says since sometime in 1924, when Schuster was 9 or 10, the family moved to Cleveland, Ontario. No, I want to say Ontario, Ohio. There, Schuster attended Glenview High School and befriended his later collaborator Jerry Siegel, which he began publishing a science fiction magazine, science fiction fanzine called Science Fiction. Siegel described his friendship with a similarly shy and bespectacled Schuster. When Joe and I first met, it was like the right chemicals were coming together. The duo broke into comics at major Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson's National Allied Publications, the future DC Comics, working on the landmark New Fun, the first comic book series to consist solely of original material rather than using any reprinted newspaper comic strips, debuting with Musketeer, Swashbuckler, Henry Deville, and the supernatural crime Dr. Occult, both in New Fun number 6, October 1935. In a 1992 interview in which he used the fledgling publisher's future name, he said 2 sample strips were not the ones eventually published. One was drawn on a brown wrapping paper, and the other one was drawn on the back of a wallpaper from Toronto. And DC approved them, just like that. That's incredible. But DC did say, "We like your ideals, we like your scripts, and we like your drawings, but please cover over the stories in pen and ink on good paper." So I got my mom and father to lend me the money to go out and buy some decent paper. The first drawing paper I ever had in order to submit these stories properly to DC Comics. Yeah, it did. Lois and Clark did start it off good, and then slowly went down. That last episode was kind of. I think they had somebody deliver them a baby or something at the doorsteps or something, because they were trying to conceive. They ended up getting married, and there was weird stuff. Him going to the clinic to check. And see if he could conceive a child or something. When they need to take away his powers to do that, because I think in the Superman, not the Superman, the Arrowverse Superman, I think they ended up going to Argo City or something, and because Argo City has the red sun or something, and Superman is powerless there, and Lois ended up getting pregnant or something. But here's the thing about the Superman creation. Siegel and Shuster created a bold telepathic villain bent on dominating the world. As a character in the story, The Reign of the Superman, published by Siegel's 1933 fantasy science fiction number 3, the story was not successful, and the character was not used again. Eventually, Siegel reused the name the Superman for a new character that became the most famous superhero of all time. Schuessler modeled the hero on Douglas Fairbanks Sr., modeled his statical alter ego Clark Kent on a combination of Harold Lloyd and Schuster himself with the name Clark Kent, from the movie stars Clark Gable and Kent Taylor. Lois Lane was modeled on Joan Carter, a model hired by Schuster. She later married co-creator Jerry Siegel in 1948. Siegel and Schuster then began a 6-year quest to find a publisher. Titling the character Superman, Siegel and Schuster offered it to Constellated Book Publishing, who had published a 48 black and white comic book entitled Detective Dan, Secret Operative, from number 48. Through the duo received an encouraging letter. Constellated never again published comic books. Schuster took to his heart, and by his varying accounts, either burned every page of the story, with the cover surviving only because Siegel saved it from the fire. He tore the story to shreds, with only two cover sketches remaining. Siegel and Schuster each compared this character to Slam Bradley, an adventure the pair had created for Detective Comics number 1, March 1937. In 1938, the proposal was languished among others at More Fun Comics, published by National Allied Publications. The primary precursor to DC Comics editor Vin Sullivan chose it as the cover feature for National Comics #1, June 1938. The following year, Siegel and Schussler uh, started the syndicated Superman strip. Due to financial difficulties, Wheeler Nicholson had formed a corporation with Harry Donfield and Jack Leibowitz called Detective Comics Incorporated. It was under the DC label that Action Comics #1, cover date 1938, was published in 1937. Wheeler Nicholson sold his stake in National Allied Publications to Donfield Leibowitz as part of bankruptcy settlement. On September 30th, 1946, these two companies merged to become National Comics Publication. In 1961, the company became known as National Periodico. In 1967, National. Having a hard time saying these words today, so sorry about that. But anyway, the part of this deal was saw Superman published in Action Comics. Siegel and Schuster sold the rights to the character for $130 and a contract to supply the publisher with material. So I think, well, back then in 1938, $130 is a lot of money. But the company ended up making lots of money off these guys. Al Capone, you remember when Al Capone came back to life in Lois Lane? I don't remember that one. I might have missed that one. Yeah. I just remember the ones when they're trying to conceive. But that was towards the end of it. I might have missed a few because probably the time when that was on, I was doing a lot of stuff. I think Lois and Clark was around the '90s, early '90s, wasn't it? So I was probably working a few evening jobs and stuff like that. I ended up getting some jobs that that took me into some evening jobs. I did some call center work. I did some telemarketing work when I was in my 20s, early 30s. Some of the telemarketing jobs were fun. Had a little bit more energy, then I could stay up later at night. Didn't need that much sleep, so I could work on comic books in between. I could have missed a whole bunch of episodes. I think I taped the first episode. I have it on, or I did have it on tape. I got rid of a bunch of pre-recorded tapes that I made a long time ago. I got convinced by my parents to. They thought I had too much stuff, and they told me to get rid of a whole bunch of stuff. So, but I would anything that would come on TV that would be comic book related, I would tape it down. Star Trek, I was taping that down. The Next Generation. But I used to be there when the shows would be on, so I'd be able to take out the commercials. But some of the other jobs, like I got to the point that I was too busy working other jobs to catch up on all the shows, and I think maybe I might have been starting to get sick of it by then, or some. I like Dean Cain. Um, he's a great actor, but he didn't feel right as Superman. In that suit, it just didn't look. Maybe it was his hair or something. Because didn't he have almost the same hairstyle as Clark? Because I didn't like his hair slicked down. Oh no, maybe he has hair different as Clark, and he had his hair slicked back as Superman. But I don't know. Maybe I think it would have been better if they had the less grease in his hair. But I think John Byrne used to do that. Said that Superman would put a little gel in his hair or something. Like when he changed, when Clark changed to Superman or something like that. I know I heard stories about Dean gaining weight or something, and the producers of the shows didn't. They wanted him. They wanted Dean Cain to keep that physique because he was looking a little fat in the Superman suit. I think he was a football player at one time, Dean Cain, before he got on. He started doing the Lois and Clark. Yeah, I'm just looking at some pictures of him as some of the Superman pictures. I think somebody's posted some pictures of him. It looks like he's gained a lot of weight. He's 53 years old. I don't know. I thought I seen him in another show. A few years back, and he didn't look like he was too bad. He's not really that old. If he's 53, I'm 5 years older than he is. Now I heard he's a really nice guy, Dean Cain. They had him on Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash on the Comic Book Guys show. In college. Okay, that's that. Probably when you've seen it. But yeah, they had him on Comic Book Guys, and I really felt they mistreated him because they had him doing a whole bunch of stuff, and he took it in stride what they were, you know. But yeah, I didn't think they treated him very well. I have a friend on Facebook that she's met Dean Cain, I think a couple times. Yeah, something about that suit, like the cape in that doesn't look too bad. On well, the cape doesn't look. It looks it's cloth. I don't like I don't like the cape on that new Superman in the Arrowverse. Something about it. He's got. It looks like leather on top of his shoulders, um, and the rest is like cloth or some. It doesn't seem to sit well. I think the S symbol on Dean's costume is maybe a little bit too big because it comes all the way from his chest down to his belly button. Um, I know his mother made him the suit, I think. And those boots look uncomfortable. I think they could have found us some other kind of material than spandex for him. Or maybe a different shade of blue. What do you think is the best? Who wore the best Superman suit? George Reeves, or even Alan Kirkland? I think it's Alan Kirkland. It's the first live action Superman. Kirk Allen was the first Superman. He was in the Columbia Pictures in the 1948. But the special effects for that were really cheesy. I don't know if you ever watched it, but when Superman would take off and fly, he'd become a cartoon. Where the Adventures of Captain Marvel, they tried to make it look like somebody really flying. The special effects were much better. But who do you think might have worn the best Superman outfit? He was in Madness and Method. Jason Matthews director debut. How long ago was that? Was that Madness into Method? So now, for me, I think the Christopher Reeve Superman costume was the best. Now, I did like Brandon Roth's Kingdom Come Superman costume in the Crisis, but I still feel that the Christopher Reeve Superman costume was the best in the first and second movie. It seemed like they started using different material. They did a lighter blue or some. I'm not sure if it was 3. It probably was 3 and up. That the costume changed a bit. It was probably budget and stuff like that. Now, I remember reading a story about Kirk Allen, and there was a warehouse scene or some, and the scene was that he knocked out these criminals or something, and he was supposed to carry him out of the warehouse or somewhere. And they kept on making takes and takes and takes, and he was getting tired. I found out he was actually lifting up the people, and they were supposed to be dummies in place of the guys, and he was getting tired of lifting up real people. And they were saying that kryptonite was introduced in the radio show. Apparently, Siegel was going to introduce it in the comic book or something, and DC Comics didn't want him to do it or something. Yeah, yeah. Because Christopher Reeves is the ultimate Superman. Yeah, I think he's a. I think he was a. I think it was a. He was a far better choice. He actually looked like, when I looked at some of the back of the 1938 Superman comics. He actually, Christopher Reeves actually looked like Superman. His face structure did. So the only thing I didn't like was the casting of Margaret Kidder. I didn't think she. I don't know. I just I didn't think she looked like Lois Lane. Now, what would you if you had a ranking of superhero TV shows? Let's say just leave the movies out of it, but TV shows. What would you say would be the best of all time live action superhero book? Could be like, Batman 1966, or anything like that from there. Anything that was on television, that was just made for television. What would you think was the best adaptation, or even if it was it didn't have to be superhero. It's just anything that's comic book that was on television from the past, from the 60s to now. What do you think would have been the best show? I've seen a lot of shows that got canceled over the years that were pretty good. They only lasted for one season. I was quite disappointed with that, with some of these shows. I'll let you come and answer that, and then I'll come back with my answer, because I still got to think it over anyway. Yeah, tomorrow I'm going to have a special guest on tomorrow. If you're going to be around, Sean, hopefully I'm going to put up a ad on Facebook anyway. Not an ad, but a announcement that he's coming on. I've got Scott Weldon from. Let me tell you what his name of his book is. Scott E.S. Weldon. He creates a book called Harlan's Buck Freeze World. He'll be my guest tomorrow at 2. We're going to talk about his comic book. So I don't know if you've seen his comic book. So yeah, we're going to be having him on for tomorrow, and yeah, we'll be talking about his comic book, his process, and stuff like that. So yeah, so hopefully you'll be around tomorrow to watch it. I might not be. I'm not sure if I'm going to be putting it on Facebook. I might be putting it on LinkedIn and YouTube. Just to switch it up a bit. I can always put it on Facebook later. But right now I just want to do it. Well, we'll see. Maybe I might change my mind tomorrow and just do Facebook and YouTube. I can only put it on with the service I have with StreamYard. I can only choose two. I should have went for the bigger package because I could have went on 3 or 4 different platforms, and I didn't go for that, so I went the middle ground one. Well, the other one had 8-hour streams, and I'm like, I can't do 2 hours. I can't do 8-hour streams. You know, I might be able to do 4-hour streams, but 8 hours is. I see some of these YouTuber guys going on, and they're doing 8-hour streams, and I'm like going, how do you get anything done? You know, with an 8-hour stream, especially if you're a creator. You know, you got to be working on your book and stuff. You know, I'm the type of person who doesn't like an older. I'm just finding that I need to get into I need a regular sleeping pattern, and so you're saying the Punisher, Daredevil, and the Hulk. So you're talking about the Netflix series and you're talking about the Incredible Hulk, the TV series. If you are, that was a really good series. I've got all the seasons on DVD. The only thing I didn't like was the Hulk TV specials that they had on. The Daredevil in that was kind of cheesy. The guy who played Fisk, he was the professor on Sliders and Indiana Jones. But the series was pretty good. I finally got to see Prometheus. I didn't say that right, but it was where the Hulk. He was called the Demi Hulk or something like that. But my favorites from the past was the Flash, the 1990 Flash, Sable. I really love Sable. I don't know if you've ever seen that show. And I'll give you another one. Just give me. It would be the Flash, Sable. Yeah, I think it's only 2 I can think of right now. The Flash, the 90s Flash, and Sable. I did really like those. Well, the reason why they called him David instead of Bruce, because what I read is they found that Bruce was a wimpy name, and people wouldn't associate him, so they figured they call him David to get more viewership. If they called him Bruce, it just wouldn't have. I think Bruce back then in the in the 70s was more of a wimpy name, and David was more of a manly man name. I don't understand it either. So, but it was well done. That pilot was I when he first changed. Actually, I'll add that one into my list. The Hulk too. The Hulk is my favorite too. So um, it'd be the Flash, Sable, and the Hulk is my favorite three. But that first episode, when he was changing that tire, when he hulked out for the first time, that scared the hell out of me. That was friggin' it just those white eyes when he was turning that wrench, you knew it was coming, but because you never like that was the first time I ever seen the transformation. Um, oh, maybe I don't know, but I thought I read that Bruce at that the name Bruce at that time was was very not manly like. I don't even think they were thinking of Batman. Um, but but when I saw that transformation for the first time, and we all knew it was coming, and the room I remember it was getting into the evening. Now it didn't help that my grandmother was in the other room in our kitchen reading the Bible. That might have scared the bejesus out of me too when he transformed into the Hulk. You know, um, but it was getting dark. It was in the evening. I think it was like 8 o'clock or some 8 or 9 o'clock. It came on because it was a 2-hour movie, and sitting down in front of that wooden TV and watching that Hulk, and he slammed it down once, and you heard him scream in pain, and then he went to do it again, and it slipped again, and that was the one that caused him to Hulk out, and that just freaked me out. Those white eyes, or the green eyes that were looking at you on the screen, and him ripping out of his clothes, and yeah, after that I was fine. But that seeing that those eyes that he had, those contacts that he had in his eyes, just flipped me right out. It was just like it sent chills down my back, and I think the music too might have contributed to that too. But when you're like a 14-year-old kid and you're watching that, he was a little older than 14. Think when did the first episode of the Hulk aired? But I don't know if you ever got that when you watched that, Sean, when you watched the Incredible Hulk. Um, in 1978. So, trying to figure out my math here. Yeah, I would have had to have been about 14. That was 77, but I always seem to put everything around 77. um, but let's see. That would have been around 16, I guess, maybe 15, 16 when that aired. Well, I said it was November 4th. I don't remember. It couldn't have been. It could have been a year that we didn't have snow, because I didn't remember snow on the ground. But I remember it was dark. It was starting to get dark when the show came on. And that's probably what led to being it scary at that point. You know. And like I said, with my grandmother in the background, because I back then didn't have a VCR, so I couldn't video. I couldn't put the. I didn't have a VCR. The VCR. I think VCRs were out by then. But I used to get a tape recorder with a microphone and put it to the speaker of the TV to record the showdown. And I got to a point I could learn what the distance I could put it to the speaker to pick up the sound. And but I would tape that down. I think I might have the tape. Don't know. If I do, I should play it back and see if I can hear my grandmother in the background reading her Bible. And she said it really loud. She got louder as he transformed into the Hulk. Yet she was in the other room, not seeing it. So you remember they used the music for the Hulk versus cartoon. Okay, I watched that a long time ago, but I don't remember if they used. So they used the theme song for the Hulk in that from the TV series and the cartoon. I'll have to see if I can watch it again. So I'll listen for that. But I thought it was well done. It was. It didn't It didn't do anything like. It wasn't anything like the comic books. Well, they didn't have the budget. Kenneth. Who was the director? I'm trying to. Kenneth Johnson was the. It was produced. It was developed and produced by Kenneth Johnson, who also wrote and directed some episodes. But he, I guess, Universal got the rights to a bunch of Marvel heroes, and they asked him, Kenneth Johnson, which one he wanted. He didn't want any of them. He didn't like comic books or superhero stuff, but I think he got talked into doing the Hulk. So he wanted to do it more of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of thing. It would have been nice if the Hulk talked a little bit. And maybe it would have sounded stupid on TV, I guess. Maybe going, Hulk smash. But it could have said some, they have some good. They had some good lines. Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. And the opening, it was always like it. I know Kenneth Johnson also did stuff on the $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman, because I think he created the Bionic Woman, and it seems like it always opens up the same way, like Steve Austin, astronaut, and then they got that one here, David Banner, physician, scientist, searching for a way to tap into the hidden strength that all humans have. Then, in an accidental overdose of gamma radiation, interacts with his unique body chemistry. And now, when David grows angry or outraged, a startling metamorphosis occurs. The creature is driven by rage and pursued by an investigative reporter. Yeah. Is it what you're talking about? At the end, he walks away. Is that the cartoon that he walks away from? Well, that was always the part in the TV series that he always walked away. It was kind of a little bit like The Fugitive, and I think there was other stuff that they mixed in with it that he didn't want to do. Okay. I'll have to watch it again. I'll have to watch the cartoon again because I did see it a long time ago. Sometimes I do forget about some stuff that I watch. That's why I usually watch things over again because that's where you catch up with stuff. I read somewhere here. I know Kenneth Johnson was asking Stan Lee why the Hulk was green. I don't know if you know the story behind that. When they were publishing the Hulk, Stan Lee wanted the Hulk to be gray, but they couldn't get the colors right, and there was all multiple colors that the Hulk was in. He was like red, he was this, and he was that, and at the last page, I think he was the color was green, and when he looked at it, I guess he kind of told the colors and said, "Well, let's make them green." He says here, an interview with Kenneth Johnson on the season 2 DVD. He explains that he also wanted the Hulk to be colored red, rather than green. His reason was given were because red, not green, is perceived the color of rage, and also because red is a human color, where green is not. However, Stan Lee, an exclusive executive at Marvel Comics at the time, said the Hulk color was not something that could be changed because it's an iconic image. Stan Lee told Kenneth Plume on June 26, 2000 interview, the Hulk was done intelligently. It was done by Kenneth Johnson, who was a brilliant writer, producer, director. He made it intelligent, an adult show that kids could enjoy. He took a comic book character and made him somewhat plausible. Women liked it, men liked it, teenagers liked it. It was beautifully done. He changed it quite a bit from the comic book, but every change he made sense. So that's where it comes in with a good story. If it makes sense and you read it through, then you don't mind changes in a storyline. I guess the Jack McGee character was kind of like Ross or something like that, General Ross, or Talbot, maybe, that always pursued, Now it says here that he says for the role of Dr. David Banner, Kenneth Johnson cast Bill Bixby, his first choice for the role. Jack Colvin was cast as Jack McGee, the cynical tabloid newspaper reporter, modeled after the character of Javert in Les Miserables, who pursues the Hulk. Arnold Schwarzenegger auditioned for the role of the Hulk, but was rejected due to his inadequate height, according to Johnson. In his I need to get a new tongue today. What he said on the commentary on the Incredible Hulk, the original television premiere DVD release. Actor Richard Kiel was hired for the role during filming. However, Kenneth Johnson's own son pointed out that Kiel's tall but underdeveloped physique did not resemble the Hulk at all. Soon Kiel was replaced with a professional bodybuilder, Lou Ferrigno, though a very brief shot of Kiel as the Hulk remains in the pilot. According to the interview with Kiel, who saw property out of one eye, he reacted badly to the contact lenses used for the role and found the green makeup difficult to remove. So he did not mind losing the part. Yeah, I heard those contact lenses were pretty bad back then. They weren't designed very well for the eye. The open narration was provided by actor Ted Kennedy, who also provided the Hulk's voiceovers, mainly growls and roars, during the first 2 seasons. Cassidy died during production of season 2 in January 1979. The Hulk's vocalizations for the remainder of the series were provided by actor Charles Napier, who made 2 guest starring appearances in the series. So, I thought I heard that they did. Thought they did recordings of animals or some for some of his growls and stuff for the Hulk. But yeah, it was well done for the first. Well, I think it only went on for 5 seasons. The Hulk did. I think they were hoping for another season, but I was listening to one of the commentaries on DVDs, and they were talking about the writers. And the writers were trying to do really what was it? Scary stuff for David for transformations, I think they were all sitting at the table and going, well, what if we shot him out of a cannon, and he transformed as he was flying and stuff like that. But maybe they ran out of ideas, and it's, the people were getting tired of the Hulk and stuff like that. I thought the one with Married was a really, the movie, the original movie, The Death in the Family, and Married were really, really excellent. Death in the Family, I love that one. I actually got the Super 8 camera because I was so desperate to get at least to watch some stuff of the Hulk over again, because a lot of stuff didn't get reruns, stuff like the Hulk and stuff. Well, sometimes they would run. And I moved off to Newfoundland shortly after the first season, and the TV station down there, we might have came down by the 3rd season, I think. Yeah, we moved down by the 3rd season. And when we moved down, they had started putting, I was hoping to watch season 3 down there, but they started playing season 1 and 2, and they had them all mixed up. So they were out of order. And when they premiered it, I think there was an episode where David was in, I think he got, was he crippled? No, he wasn't handicapped. There was a doctor that injected something to kill him, and he hulked out or something. And I left the Banner weak or something. And I was talking to some schoolmates down there, and we were talking about the show, and he goes, oh yeah, he got injected by this needle, and this is how he became the Hulk. And I said, no. I said the Hulk was gamma rayed. He was doing an experiment on himself, but they never showed that episode. I don't know why. Maybe they couldn't afford. They could only buy some, stuff. Jack Kirby. He made a cameo appearance in the series. Kirby's cameo was in the season 2 episode No Escape, while Lee appeared as a juror in the trial of the Incredible Hulk in 1989, in a post-series TV movie. Now, additionally, the Hulk's facial makeup was quite monstrous, but after both pilots, the first 20 of the first 2 weekly episodes and the New York location shooting for the 4th, the design was toned down. The makeup process was used to transform Ferrigno into the Hulk took 3 hours. The hard contact lenses Ferrigno used to simulate the Hulk's electric green eyes had to be removed every 15 minutes because he found wearing them physically painful. The green fright wig he wore as the Hulk was made out of dye yak hair. I imagine that smelled quite a bit. So I think contacts, aren't they plastic now or something? So they're probably easier to be in your eyes now. And I think Spider-Man was on at that time too. The Amazing Spider-Man. The one I liked a little bit of change for Spider-Man's origin a little bit, making him a little bit older in college, and the students working in radioactivity. I don't know why they wouldn't have a teacher there to make sure everything was going okay, but that was okay. The spider getting into the radioactive containment thing. I thought that was a lot better than the spider just coming. Them watching this display of radioactivity at this science fair thing or something. I think the spider being trapped inside that box was a little bit better than what they did in the comic books. The rest of the story was kind of goofy. They could have done some villains or something better than that motivational guy they had in there. One thing about the Hulk, going back to the Hulk, the one thing I liked about the Hulk, they talked about these people that had extraordinary strength, which tied into why he tried to get the strength of the Hulk, because his wife died, and all these other people had the strength to save the people they loved, and I think they were actually based on people, or in stories of people having these extraordinary strength. And it was kind of neat that they showed that they mapped out the gamma rays, and the gamma rays was low when he tried to save his wife. Now, would he transform if the gamma rays were high on that day his wife was in the car? Would he metamorphized, or would the radiation that he got was even more higher than what would have been in the atmosphere? And they were also talking here about, he says, Stan, I don't think this Hulk should talk. The minute he says, I knew he was right. In comics, I had the Hulk saying this, Hulk crush, Hulk get him. I could get away with it in a comic, but that would have sounded silly if he spoke that way in a television show. I can't remember. I got to watch the Avengers again. But did the Hulk speak? Well, the Hulk spoke in the Incredible Hulk movie with Norton, but I don't recall if he spoke in the Avengers movie. Well, listen, Sean, I am going to end the broadcast. Got some stuff to do. I got to get ready for tomorrow's interview. I know it's a couple hours away. Yeah, Puny God. Oh, yeah, Puny God, right. He did say Puny God, right. Yes, Puny God. Yeah, yeah, I forgot about that. But anyway, I'm going to take off. So hopefully you'll join me tomorrow when I have Scott on tomorrow. And we'll find out what his creative process is. All right. So we'll see you later on. You have a good day, and bye bye.